So I think in 2 lines, I can try to sum it up, that mm, let us make a determination to cultivate beautiful thoughts, pure and noble ones, that we may influence the world in the right way. That's one sentence. And the second line is that let us not have the ego consciousness that it is our own, for all thoughts come from soul consciousness or from eternal wisdom.
Excellent. 2 sentences, very, very good ones. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what he said. But Omar, he puts it. If you didn't know, I mean, when you read, I mean, you would just go right by you. That's a beautiful insight. Okay.
Should I go to the next quatrain then?
Yeah. Okay. Let's move forward.
The 19th quatrain says, "And this delightful herb, whose tender green fledges the river's lip, on which we lean, lean upon it lightly, for who knows from what once lovely lip it springs unseen." And so there is a paraphrase here which says, "Our subtlest perceptions spring not from outside ourselves, in communication with the world around us and with other minds, but from hidden recesses within ourselves. Approach these spinal grottos sensitively, for through them flows the subtle river of all vitality, perceptivity, and joy. On the banks of this astral river grow fresh, rejuvenating herbs, verdant grasses of inspiration, and fragrant wildflowers of intuition. All living forms are sustained by the life force at their center. Vertebrate forms are fed and revitalized by the life in their spines. Through the spinal nerve centers, in the case of human beings, inspiration also flows outward. Deepen your awareness of the spinal channel, for within your body, so apparently small, outwardly flows the mighty, all-nourishing river of life." And so in this quatrain, when he speaks of delightful herb whose tender green, in the key it is written that it means the perceptions and the joy that we feel when we go inward, and fledges the river's lip on which we lean. That river, he means to say, the life force, the energy consciousness flowing in our astral spine. And then he talks of lean lightly. When he says lean lightly on it, he means concentrate sensitively to perceive those beautiful inspirations that are coming from a source which is from the great life, not from the little life. And he says that by saying, "For who knows from what once lovely lip it springs unseen." And when he talks of from what once lovely lip, he means the divine loveliness, that we are just a reflection. If anything is in us which is noble, it is a reflection of the great life, the great nobility, and he calls it divine loveliness. So This is the key which he has given us. And in the paraphrase, Paramahansa Yogananda explains to us that we should not waste our time outwardly through the senses, because the five senses, they enslave us. If we are very much we like flattery a lot, we'll be enslaved to the sense of hearing. If we find too much beauty in the outer world, we will be enslaved to sight. If we eat greedily the food which is brought to us, then we'll be enslaved to taste and smell. But we should approach food with gratitude and a feeling that it is nourishing us. And the most enslaving sense is the sense of touch, because if we are very much we are more than moderately delighted in the sense of touch, then we will have too many sex desires, and that will enslave us too much. And if we can just go within, and then he also speaks about more things. He says the mind and the senses, they commune by the life force, but the mind also communes with the soul. So when the mind deepens its communion with the soul, then it can give peace to the remaining part of the body. So that is what he is trying to tell us. Deeply commune in deep meditation with your soul, because it speaks to you. Here he says that when he talks about lip, he says the divine lips of the spirit, they speak to us in the silence of the soul. And then he also goes on to tell us something wonderful. He says, as you keep meditating deeply, you will understand that your awareness of the brain, spine, and heart can be separated from the awareness of the body. And if we keep doing that again and again, then we will lose body consciousness, and we will be able to merge into, he calls it the measureless consciousness of spirit. Measureless is probably another word for infinite, because we know God is infinite consciousness, divine consciousness. So we can do that if we keep on deeply meditating. And I would like if anyone has anything to add to this.
All of that from that one quatrain. I mean, isn't that just amazing that Master could penetrate to that depth of understanding in these quatrains? I'm just in awe of the depth of perception on that. That was beautiful, very beautiful. 2 sentences.
Yeah, 2 sentences. if no one wants
I sometimes find that actually when I was doing this for myself, don't you find? I mean, I find I have to, that clarity of, trying to, because as imagining you're explaining to somebody else, very.
Yeah. So that I'll try to put it in 2 lines, and so the so the first line could be that don't waste your time outwardly in the senses, and do your best to go within, for within you will find a world full of beautiful perceptions, joy, intuition, and inspiration. And God will talk to you through his lips. He says lips, so that's what. So I think those are 2 lines. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Pramila. Julia, I see your hand is virtually up.
Yeah, I just would like to understand certain things. I mean, I do understand everything what Master is trying to say, and the importance to go within and abstract ourselves from the senses and don't get attached to the senses and all that. But at the same time, I'm just trying to understand certain aspects, because, for example, the what he says about the sense of touch, and like, well, it kind of makes me feel bad, because, like, for example, I love my dog, and when I'm petting my dog, I'm like, expressing all my love to my dog. Whoa, should I not touch my dog and just go with it? In these little things of life. And also I have seen that, for example, in the church, in the Catholic Church, or in the Orthodox Church, during the Mass, the rituals that they do, they somehow use the senses as a way to go within and get connected with God. The incense that they put in the Mass, and the chanting, and when in the Mass insert, when you give your hand to the people around you, and it's somehow a way to help you connect with the divine self that is within you. So it makes me wonder, okay, to what extent we should shut off, from the senses and go completely within, because when we go completely within, it's difficult to operate in the world. Sometimes when I go to Kriya initiations and all, I sometimes experience that I go within so much that I cannot even speak, and people look at me like, what's wrong with you? You don't talk. So what's the right balance? I mean, for us, or for the people who are not perhaps ultimately there,
That is a very good, broad question. And I'm going to ask everybody here to help answer that, give your perspective on it. What's the balance? Let's say you love your dog, or whatever example you want to use. Where do we draw the lines? How do we have this? And we've just been speaking 2 quatrains about the beauty of this world.
Yeah, exactly.
And versus the engagement. Where's the balance? How would we answer that? So now we have some really good, knowledgeable people here. And I was going to just say, I'm going to have to call on somebody, but I see Pranya is raising her hand. And so you've saved me, Pranya, from having to call. But yes, Pranya.
Yes, so what I understand is from this book study, and also from the last book study we had, is Swamiji and Master recommended to enjoy the things with God's joy within you. It's the ability within us which helps us to enjoy the senses and the outward things. So if you see good sunset, you don't close your eyes and see, I don't want to see the sunset and I want to go within. So it's just to enjoy outward reality with God's presence with us. Like He is enjoying through you. If you are petting a dog, God is petting the dog in reality, because actually we are living for a very less time than God is there since long time. So we can say it's God who is, outwardly you can say ego is a healthy ego who loves the God, healthy Julia who loves God. But you can say it's in reality who is loving, it's God's love. So even though we operate through senses, uh, to whichever whoever we are giving, it's God's love or God's joy which we are giving. That we need to understand. Otherwise, if that the way we go, if it is not God's way, then close it. That's what I think. We should close where we think that we are not going towards God, not going towards peace or not going towards joy, then stop that sensation.
Perhaps if I get attached to my dog, right?
Yeah, I think attachment is probably a good word to use, Yeah, that's good. Anybody else like to comment? Yeah, Joseph?
I'd like to share a quick um, insight that I gotten from other texts, other traditions. The Sanskrit words vairagya. Vairagya is a very high order. The vairagya is to be abstained from all the five senses, and that is also being mentioned in the the doctrines of Buddhism and the spiritual milestones. Actually, the once enterer, the non-returner, and so on and so forth, right? And one of which is actually to control your senses, or not like controlling, because controlling there's a resistance that you know what I'm saying. So because there's attachments, and then that's why you want to control. It's more like negating, and it's a high order to negate. So I suppose that's my personal intake. I'm not going to say it on behalf of anyone, but it's my own developmental realization. Is when the aspirant is ready, that realization will come forth. It's not a concept of that you leave. You can't. You can do that, and then that's probably delusionary from the onset, and so it will be helpful. So it's a kind of it is indeed a realization. So it cannot be forced, right? But it can be a attempt. That's my own take. So loving a dog and things like that is natural, because a part of growing up and what the soul wants to experience, in this particular earthly living. And once you have enough of that, perhaps you will say, yes, I love the dog, but I don't need to be attached to the dog anymore, like that. And I still love the dog, like that. Okay. So I think I'll stop here. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned the word vairagya, and a way that's commonly, a translation of that commonly is dispassion. And Master said an interesting thing about dispassion, about how true vairagya is a deep love for God. And he said that is the way that we cultivate dispassion, because when you love God so intensely, you don't reject anything. Your desire for expressing and enjoying life through the senses disappears, because in your love for God, and you see God in everything, and you love God so much, the sense approach to it is not there anymore. And so consequently, you could say we're always in the middle, to either go upward in our approach to whatever enjoyment, or to go downward through the senses to enjoy. So it's the question of, we always have that choice, how, because joy is what we want, and we want it, but we can enjoy this world that we find ourselves in a godly way or through a sensual way. And the problem with the sensual way is binding, and that's karmically binding. And that's, of course, why it's recommended, I'd say, that we go the other way. But I always like that. Dispassion is the cure, is to love God, and the pure expression of dispassion is to love God so that there's no, everything else goes away. And then that's the expression of it. So any other comments on that? Pranya, I saw one more, and then, yes.
A fast observation here is that sometimes it can come across as antithesis. I mean, to a normal man, that you love so much that you don't engage with that activity anymore. So it's antithesis and it's interesting. Thank you.
Was there any final comment here?
Uh,
No.
I just would like to add to it, to whatever
Yes.
we've been discussing. I think if that light, which is the divine light, is in everyone, and I see that light in each person that I meet or come across, I think the way to express, when I say joy to you, and if my touch is bringing in some healing to that person, you know, somebody's lost somebody, and my little hug makes a difference, I think it's perfectly fine that if I do that. Or for any other senses, I mean, if you're listening to a good music and it brings you joy, it's fine to use that sense also. I know in the bigger picture, we need to connect with our inside and listen to our sounds which are in us. But I don't know how, like Pradna just said, how can we just not look at something which is very beautiful with eyes? So I
I would like to say that it's the heart energy which matters most. Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodh. So, as Master explained in our second level class about Mon, Buddhi, Ahankar, and Chitta. So, when the Chitta gets affected, there is the point, I think, because if I love my dog and I don't love him if he eats unwanted things, and then there is a problem of taking care of him. Because what will happen to his tummy? We think, oh my God, he ate something. Nowadays he eats masks and he eats socks. So how then how to love him? Still, I love him, but I want to clean up, go behind him, take more care of him. So, heart, I think, is the most important thing which we should uh, care for. That's what I think. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That was all very nice. Very nice. Now, what's the next? Who's got the next one? I've got my list here somewhere, but maybe you know faster than me. Well, Joseph, it says you're on number 2021. Okay.
Yes, right. Yeah. It's a lovely passage I'm getting. Thank you very much. My beloved, fill the cup that clears today of past regrets and future fears. Tomorrow, why tomorrow I may be myself with yesterday's 7,000 years. In a paraphrase, my beloved, fill the cups of my mind with the ambrosia of bliss that flows from the cusp of ecstasy. Only in union with thee will my awareness of past errors and my fear of the evil they could bring to me in future be dispelled. Delay me no longer as I seek the beloved. Tomorrow I may depart this body forcefully. My atoms strewn along among a past of countless forms intoxicate me, yes, even today, with divine devotion. To me, the writer is come across as an existentialist. In his connection with what he's experiencing, time slows down and the space expands. And in that kind of altered condition, he has this to this effect that he felt to express in these words that I'm saying. So when the cup is clear, when it's empty, I think to me, I see that the writer is saying that when your mind is empty, so you are spiritually ready to receive more stuff. So that was the point of readiness, and that was potent. I mean, that was is poignant. Okay. So with that context, and he says that Master says that the cup of my mind with the ambrosia of bliss. That means with the immortality. Ambrosia is the immortality in Greek. So Master is using a Greek word to describe Omar's affection to what he's experiencing. That to me is very beautiful, and it's apt. It's apt. I get what Master is trying to say, and he's saying that with that awareness, the next sentence he was saying, with that awareness of the past errors. So that being the solution, when you realize that, you begin. So you're ready. You catch that. You're ready to take on new knowledge. So that is he essentially, the Master is showing the mind's work. The mechanism of the mind operating and using Omar's experience. Okay, and the last sentence of the Master's paraphrase. Intoxicate me, yes, even today, with divine devotion. So to me, I see that is so beautiful because he's touching timelessness, and he's essentially saying, consumes me, use me up. That is my interpretation. So it's like, wow. It's like, I don't know what to say about this. He said, no, he's embracing everything. Okay, that's very. So this passage for me, I just choose the passage. When I was asked to take on the train. So this comes to me is I love this particular one. This is the first time reading it. Wow. So it fuels me as well. Really.
I think, I found this is a little bit about what we were speaking about in the previous one. Remember when I mentioned that comment about dispassion is not so much not liking this or not liking that, but filling your cup with God's love. And when we do that, you fill the cup and there's no room for anything else in the cup. And that's in a sense what is being said here in the paraphrase. Fill the cup of my mind and the ambrosia bliss that flows from the cask of ecstasy. Only in union with thee will my awareness of past errors, my fears of the evil that they could bring for the future be dispelled. And so consequently, everything goes. And like Swamiji once asked Master, because Swami, when he liked good food, and look, we all do, and he liked good food, and he felt guilty about liking good food, and because the yogi is supposed to be very Spartan and dispassionate, you might say, toward this good food. So he asked Master, he says, "Will you help me overcome my liking for good food?" And Master just said, he says, "Don't worry about it. When ecstasy comes, everything goes." And that was in a sense here, when you fill the cup, anything else that's floating around in there is gone. And but I think in a practical sense, he was saying, look, that's the important thing, is to find God. Don't worry about the little things like that. I mean, the desire for good food is, you might say, a minor distraction compared to. So we have to keep things in proportion. So I think loving the dog, one is good because it stimulates love, which is always a good thing. And then you expand that love from your dog, maybe to your neighbor who doesn't like the dog barking. But, and then And so, so you have to see it all in proportion, all in proportion. Anyway, Joseph, how would you sum this up in 2 sentences?
Okay, I'll start off with just a sentence or a word. In my own way, okay, my own distinction. To me, is a longing to be with God. A longing.
Yeah. Yep. That's true. Okay. Any other comments before we go forward? Okay. That was number 20. Joseph, I think you have the next one also.
Okay, yeah.
Is that right? I think so.
Yes, right. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay. Lo, some we beloved, some we loved, the loveliest and best, the time and faith of all their vintage priests, have drunk their cups a round or two before, and one by one creep suddenly to rest. Paraphrase. Time and faith have no favorites. Impartiality they trust all men, whether late or soon in life, into the winepress of death. Some, even among those we thought imperishably our own, drunk to the least, the precious drop of life, then slipped away to rest in the great silent void.
Well, that's the fate of Saul. And Joseph, what would you say?
Yeah, essentially is the love. Omar is showing his love, and there are conditions to that love. So, and he's expounding as to that is not eternal, not lasting. Okay, so he's longing for something that is more enduring. It is what I got.
Yeah.
So it says drawing to the least. So least are the most worthless part and parts of something. So he's saying that that those are minor stuff. Don't be too carried away. There are more important agenda for the aspirant to be here on the earthly world. So do not lose focus. So that is what I gotten from this particular passage.
Yeah, it's kind of like, imagine the images he uses here is he's in a tavern. He's in a tavern, and think of here you are at the table in the tavern, drinking from the cup. People come, enjoy their company for a while, and they go, and somebody else comes and they go, but in the end, everybody goes and nobody remains after a while. And I think life is like that. You live their life, and people, friends, family, acquaintances, they come and they go. And I guess you could say that's all of us. We're coming and we're going. Here we are today on this, this book study class. Who knows from a year from now what'll happen. So it's kind of it's sort of like a perspective, I guess. He's making an observation here. Yeah. Any thoughts? Okay. Let's and if you were sum that one up, how would you do that one?
Well, I'm going to say this: get out from the illusions. Get out from the illusions. There are more important stuff here.
Yeah. I guess, you don't get so, enjoy your stay at the tavern, but remember, it's only a minor little stay on the long journey that we're on. And even better yet, drink from that cup of bliss while you're here, then, escape from the delusion. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, who's signed here? I got my list here.
It's mine.
Selvaraj is, I think,
Yes, yes, mine.
I think you got your next. You're next up. Okay.
Yeah. I will read the quatrain. And we that now make merry in the room they left, and summer dresses in new bloom. Ourselves must be beneath the couch of earth, descend ourselves to make a couch for whom? So paraphrase I can read. As others, one by one, rise silently and leave the room of earth life, we here continue to make merry, hoping by our festivity to postpone the hour of our own departure. Proud in our roles, we display to the world these treasured bodies, our new costumes. Rarely do people take time to reflect that their bodies will no longer be their bodies, that someday each in turn will fertilize the moist earth in order that other and still other rose bushes of human beings may grow and flourish. See, in these first two lines, Homer says, and Master says, this beautiful earth. See, we are now living in this beautiful earth where our forefathers or so many people lived and enjoyed, and they have left this after some time, and now we are in the same place. We are doing are we doing the same thing, or are we thinking differently? That's what Master asks us here. Because these bodily garments which they have worn and they enjoyed, now some people feel proud of wearing the same thing and doing the the ornamental things for their treasured bodies, and they are proud of their life. But Master says it is not a thing to be proud. And if you continue to be like that, you will be one day in the dust only. You will reach the dust only. There is no emancipation from our routine birth. And the third para, he says, rarely do people take time to reflect that their bodies will no longer be their bodies, that someday each in turn will fertilize the moist earth in order. See, see, everybody, we are all children of the infinite. If we are all children of the infinite, why there is suffering for some people? Everybody is not born with a silver spoon in their mouth. See, some people suffer. Always suffering is there, whether man is rich or poor. So, children of God, why we should suffer? People say, no, enjoyment. Life is for enjoyment. But if it is for enjoyment, what type of enjoyment? That's what Master wanted to say. True joy, we are not animals to just come and eat and breed and die. So we are human beings. We have to think above all these temporary pleasures of life on this earth. So nobody thinks that we are not this body. We have to leave this body one day. We are the soul. So for the emancipation of the soul, we have to come out of the delusion and awaken the glory of inner life. That alone gave permanent, what I can say. See, our energy should be directed to reach the infinite, which gives the permanent joy to the soul.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty much like we've been talking with this one and the one Joseph's read, that we're only here for a time. Don't forget, but we think we're here for, and this is the reality for us, but it's only a temporary stopping point on this journey, and don't get attached to this, and look to the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would you sum this up
I mean,
if you were to put it in 2 sentences?
see, to escape from this uncertainty in life, as Master said, make every minute count. So one
Yeah.
place Master has said, make every minute count. So every minute, how we spend, we should not spend the same way or others did, because they will take birth and they will again come back to the earth and they will go again. But we should think differently, and for that, every minute we should think of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And focus all our energy towards that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We get liberation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like a cautionary quatrain, just, cautioning us along the way. Well, good. Thank you. Okay. I think you have the next one also.
Yeah. Quatrain 23. Make the most of what yet we may spend. Make the most of what we yet may spend before we too into the dust descend. Dust into dust, and under dust to lie. Saints wine, saints song, saints singer, and saints end. So, paraphrase, here this body, so fairly formed, so strong, so vital, withers with age and disintegrates to dust again. Make the best use of what fate has given you. Be not identified with your short-lived sense pleasures, lest at death you find yourself identified with the dust. Set out this very day on the great adventure. Seek the holy grail of communion with the ever-new joy in the eternal spirit. Wine, women, and song, how many are addicted to these follies? After years of carousing, they tip the wine cask and find it empty. The women age or pursue younger game. And the song rounds one more time to a tired chorus. What then is left but bitterness? All that people once loved will be ended. Worse still, the cosmic law will continue to pursue them relentlessly through eons of time until they themselves cut their karmic knots and expand their consciousness into the vast heavens of absolute love. So superficially, if is superficial meaning of this, for ordinary man, see, the time is very less for us in this earth. So come and enjoy life, whatever we can do. That's what the superficial meaning of this quatrain says. But Master's in-depth study very clearly indicated the inevitability of the time passing. He says, before the time went, before the people of they are proud of so many things, their youth, vitality, lifestyle, and so many things they are proud of. And without realizing all these things are temporary. And when they getting old, it all becomes, they're drained totally. And that is not the time. And that is not the time to do anything. And they will reach the dust ultimately. Hence, Master advises without delay, best use of what destiny has given to us. So what the destiny has given, and he advises not to spend the time in sensual pleasures, but to explore the path of God and start divine communion with the God. That's what in the second paragraph he says. Wine, women, and song, how many are addicted to these follies? Ultimately, only bitterness wait when we enjoy these earthly pleasures. So we should try to cut our karmic knots so that we will enjoy the vast heavens of absolute love. That's what finally Master says. So
I'm sorry.
all enjoyment, whether it will be snatched at the time of death. All the, this our identity, our pleasures, our attachments, whatever may be, we are all losing at the time of death, and all will be deleted from our life. So he says time is very limited. Time and tide wait for none. So before the time goes, we should try to cut the karmic knots.
It reminds me of that. There's that story in the autobiography of a yogi of two boys in Brindaban, penniless boys in Brindaban, that remember in there that he has this little thing going with his brother, and his brother Ananda says, "Oh, enjoy. You shouldn't, you shouldn't be running off to all of these religious things and spiritual things. Life is long. There's plenty of time for that." So I'm paraphrasing, of course. And then Master says, no, life is short. Who knows, what the future will bring. And so consequently, it's sort of like that in Omar is saying here, that life is short and we're here for a little time, reminding us that dust to dust, ultimately we all will go. And who knows when we're going to have to leave this tavern. So how would you sum that one up? And we're just about at the end. So we'll close with that. You want any parting words on that and summing that up?
Master says death snatches everything from us. So before that time comes, it is better we should find out ways. The only ways to start communing with God and think of that immortality which God gives.
Yeah. I think that, and it was interesting. There was probably three or many of these quatrains we read today kind of had that theme. They were sort of had that central theme of this is a very ephemeral life, ephemeral world that we live in, and to enjoy, yes, but ultimately remember, this isn't the real reality, to dive deeper beyond that. Time is passing and it waits for no one. And it's something to keep in mind. So